They thought they buried you, but they didn't know you were the earthquake. My dear chosen ones, let's get this clear from the very beginning. The ones who attacked you didn't stumble into a mistake. They waged war against something they could never understand. They thought they were breaking you down, but all they really did was sharpen you. They thought they were silencing you, but every whisper they spread only made your truth echo louder. They thought you were a pawn, small and disposable, but in reality, you were the entire board. That's what terrifies them. That's why they schemed in the shadows, twisted stories, and tried to make you look like the villain. Because deep down, they knew you are not just another person. You are chosen. Enemies don't attack what isn't threatening. Ask yourself, chosen one, why did they focus so much energy on you? Why did they sit together and plot, fabricate lies, and manufacture fake stories? Was it because you were weak? Number. Weakness never attracts envy. Weakness never sparks sabotage. They came after you because your very existence disrupted their illusion. Because when you walked into the room, masks began to crack, lies began to tremble, and their entire false foundations started to shake. You didn't have to say a word. Your presence alone exposed them. Some of you wonder, why me? Why did they target me when I gave nothing but loyalty? Here's the truth. Betrayal never comes from strangers. It comes from those who ate at your table, smiled in your face, and studied your every move. They saw your light before you even realized how bright it was. And instead of being inspired, they were terrified. Instead of standing beside you, they tried to stand over you. Instead of supporting your rise, they tried to bury it. But dirt only fuels seeds. And you, chosen one, are the seed that grows into a forest. Understand this. They didn't attack you because you were wrong. They attacked you because you were real. And nothing shakes the fake harder than someone who refuses to bend, refuses to shrink, refuses to pretend. You are living proof that authenticity burns through illusion like fire through paper. And now they're choking on their own smoke. Remember this metaphor, chosen ones. Stars don't shine in silence because they're trying to be seen. They shine because it's in their very nature to glow. And when stars shine too brightly, clouds gather, trying to block the view. But clouds can't kill the light. They only prove how strong the light really is. That's you. That's why they came for you. They weren't scared of your mistakes. They were scared of your potential. So let them whisper, let them plot, let them twist your name, because every attempt to erase you only etches you deeper into history. They thought they were ending you, but all they did was announce you. And now, my dear chosen ones, it's time you stop questioning yourself and start realizing their attacks are the clearest confirmation that you were never ordinary. You were always chosen. Number 1. Buried in dirt, but rising as the bloom they can't kill. Buried alive, but blooming louder than their lies. They thought covering you in dirt would silence you, but instead they handed you the soil you needed to rise. My dear chosen ones, listen closely. They didn't just throw dirt on your name because they had nothing better to do. No, they did it because your very existence exposed what they could never be. They knew that if you stood tall in your truth, their illusions would collapse like paper castles in the rain. So what did they do? They tried to bury you. Not with honesty, not with strength, but with whispers, with rumors, with sly smiles that hid sharp knives. They looked you in the eye, pretended to clap for you, but behind the curtain they were digging your grave. They thought the dirt would suffocate you. Instead, it nourished you. And I know, chosen one, you've asked yourself in quiet moments, why me? Why did they target me when all I ever gave was loyalty? The answer is simple. They saw the seed inside you before you did. They knew the power in you before you could even name it. And because they couldn't control it, they tried to kill it. But here's the punchline. Seeds only grow in darkness. The same dirt they used to bury you became the very ground that fueled your bloom. That's what they can't process. That's what eats them alive. Remember this, wolves always smile before they bite, but the chosen grow fangs in silence. You didn't need to announce your rise. You were rising anyway. They thought your silence meant defeat. They mistook your stillness for surrender. But while they celebrated too soon, you were aligning, building, sharpening. Quiet doesn't mean broken. Quiet means becoming. Some of you might still feel the sting of betrayal, the cold confusion of being turned on by people who once swore loyalty. But understand this, chosen ones. Betrayal isn't proof of your weakness. It's proof of your weight. Lightweight souls don't attract heavy attacks. They didn't move against you because you were fragile. They moved against you because you were solid, unshakable, and inconvenient to their lies. That's what terrifies them, the way you stand without needing their permission. They orchestrated your downfall carefully, strategically. No open war, just 1,000 tiny cuts. Silence here, a stolen opportunity there, whispers in rooms you weren't invited into. That's how cowards fight. Not face to face, but behind masks of concern. Not with fists, but with poisoned tongues. And yet, here you are, still standing, still chosen. Let me make this plain. You weren't punished, you were purified. The dirt they threw didn't destroy you. It revealed you. Their lies didn't expose your weakness. They exposed their fear. You are not the victim in this story. You are the mirror that showed them the parts of themselves they'd rather hide. You are the disruptor that shakes the ground they pretend is steady. You didn't break their system. Your very presence proved how broken it already was. So let them laugh. Let them pretend they won. Let them whisper your name in corners. Their laughter is hollow. Their whispers are dying echoes. Because while they were busy burying you, you were already becoming something they can't stop. A living reminder that dirt doesn't destroy chosen ones. Dirt makes them bloom louder. Number 2. Chains disguised as peace, shattered by your refusal to kneel. They called it peace, but it was really a leash. My dear chosen ones, this is how they do it. They don't always come with knives in their hands. Sometimes they come with smiles, soft words, and promises of peace. They tell you to calm down, to stay in line, to be humble. But if you look closely, you'll see the trick. What they called peace was nothing but chains polished to look like gold. They wanted your silence, not because it kept you safe, but because it kept them in control. And when you refused to kneel, when you chose clarity over comfort, you broke their illusion. That's why they panicked. That's why they lashed out. Because the chosen ones don't fold into cages disguised as harmony. The chosen refuse to shrink into the tiny box other people build for them. You didn't betray them by standing up. You betrayed their illusion of control. Ask yourself this: if it was really peace, why did it feel so heavy on your chest? Why did it demand your silence instead of your voice? Why did it require you to sacrifice your truth just to keep the room comfortable? Because it wasn't peace. It was fear wearing the mask of balance. It was manipulation dressed as maturity. And you, chosen one, saw through it. That's what they can't stand, that you saw the leash. That you recognized the chains they carefully painted as something noble. When you said no, when you walked away, you didn't just free yourself, you exposed the game. Your refusal echoed louder than any speech, louder than any argument. It told the world, I will not be owned. I will not kneel. And now they call you difficult. They call you rebellious. They call you aggressive. But let's be real. Those labels aren't truth. They are fear. They are desperation. Because what they really mean is this: we couldn't tame you. My dear chosen ones, never forget, your clarity is their chaos. Your refusal is their unraveling. And every time you refuse to bow to fake peace, you remind the world that you weren't born to blend in, you were born to stand out. They tried to chain you in silence, but your strength shattered those chains into dust. And now they're furious, not because you fought them, but because you refused to kneel. Number 3. The storm they dismissed as a breeze now shakes their foundations. They laughed at the thunder, but now they tremble at the lightning. My dear chosen ones, think back to how lightly they took you. Remember how they brushed off your voice, your presence, your power, as if it was nothing but a passing breeze. They rolled their eyes. They mocked behind closed doors. They told each other, "It's just a phase, don't worry, they'll fade." They thought you were small, temporary, insignificant. But here's the truth. They underestimated the wrong one. That so-called breeze has now become a storm shaking everything they built on lies and illusions. When they targeted you, they expected silence. When they attacked your innocence, they expected collapse. What they never expected was that every blow, every rumor, every attempt to bury your name was actually fueling your rise. And now, their foundations are cracking. The walls they thought were unshakable are trembling because you didn't just survive. You became the storm they can't contain. Chosen one, I know you've asked yourself, why didn't they just leave me alone? Why did they go after me so hard when I did nothing but stand in truth? The answer is simple. They fear exposure more than anything. You didn't attack them, but your very existence revealed the hollowness of their strength. You didn't break their system. It collapsed under the weight of your authenticity. And now the very people who dismissed you as harmless feel the floor trembling beneath them. Understand this. Storms don't ask for permission. They don't wait for approval. They move. They shift. They tear down what was never built to last. That's what you are right now, a force of nature that fake people can't stand against. And the beauty is, you didn't have to scream or fight to make this happen. You just kept standing, kept breathing, kept being real. That was enough to shake their illusions to dust. Let them panic. Let them scramble to hold their story together. The storm they once dismissed has arrived, and it isn't going anywhere. They thought you were a breeze. They thought you were fragile. But now their lies are collapsing under the thunder of your presence, and they're realizing far too late. You were never the breeze, chosen one. You were always the storm. Number 4, thunder in your silence, louder than every lie they spoke. They built their lies like lightning, but your silence shook the ground like thunder. My dear chosen ones, let's be honest. Sometimes the loudest power is the quietest stance. They thought that by shouting lies, twisting your name, and spreading their poison, they could drown you out. But here's what they never understood. Silence isn't weakness. Silence is thunder waiting to strike. And when it finally echoes, it drowns every false word they ever spoke. They tried to paint you as guilty when all you were was innocent. They whispered in shadows, thinking the crowd would believe noise over truth. But chosen ones don't fight with noise. You don't have to. Your presence alone disrupts illusions. While they scrambled to convince the world of their lies, you stood still, unbothered and unshaken. And that stillness, it drove them insane. Because silence in the hands of the chosen isn't surrender. It's strategy. It's proof that you don't need to clap back when the truth itself is your weapon. Ask yourself, chosen one, why did they work so hard to twist your story? Why did they gather in groups to discredit you? Because they knew one undeniable fact. Your silence is louder than their screams. They could fabricate screenshots, twist conversations, or stage betrayals, but every time you refused to crumble, you reminded them that thunder doesn't need permission to roar. Think about it. Thunder doesn't ask for attention. It doesn't explain itself. It arrives, shakes the sky, and demands to be heard. That's you. That's your power. They wanted you to beg, to plead, to explain, but you gave them nothing. And nothing terrifies a liar more than someone who won't play their game. My dear chosen ones, understand this. They wanted to see you explode, to see you lose control, so they could point and say, "See, we were right." But instead, you stayed calm. And in that calmness, you became a storm. The kind of storm that doesn't scream, it rearranges everything in silence. So let them shout, let them spit out lies like sparks. Sparks die fast, but thunder, your thunder, keeps rolling long after their voices fade. And now, every time they hear your name, their own words tremble back at them. They thought their lies would echo forever, but it's your silence that keeps shaking the ground beneath their feet. Number 5. They built walls, but you carved thrones from the pressure. Every barrier they stacked against you became the very bricks you used to build your crown. Chosen ones, let's talk about the walls they built to hold you back. They thought if they stacked enough obstacles in your way, you would stop climbing. They thought if they blocked the doors, you would stay outside in the cold, begging for an invitation. But you didn't beg. You didn't shrink. You didn't surrender. You turned every wall into proof of your power. And now the very pressure they thought would crush you has carved out your throne. Ask yourself, why did they work so hard to stop you? Why did they throw resistance at you at every turn? Ordinary people don't get that kind of opposition. Insignificant voices don't attract that kind of obsession. They fought you because your existence threatened the entire illusion they were clinging to. You didn't need to declare war. Your presence was already dismantling their false control. Every time you tried to rise, they pushed back harder. Every time you took a step forward, they whispered, they plotted, they schemed to hold you in place. That pressure wasn't random, it was targeted. But here's what they didn't understand. Pressure creates diamonds. Friction shapes strength. Walls don't just block the chosen, they sharpen them. And you, my dear chosen ones, turned confinement into confirmation. They thought their walls were cages, but you made them stages. They thought the pressure would silence you, but it gave you a voice that carries further than they ever imagined. They thought isolation would break you, but it gave you clarity, focus, and the kind of vision they'll never touch. They built those walls out of fear. Fear of your growth, fear of your truth, fear of what happens when someone innocent refuses to bow. They thought keeping you fenced in would protect their fragile system. But now, those same walls stand as monuments to their failure, because while they were busy building barriers, you were busy building yourself. And when you rose higher because of the very pressure they designed to stop you. So let them keep stacking bricks. Let them keep wasting energy building prisons you'll never live in, because chosen ones don't die in confinement. They transform confinement into coronation, and that's what they'll never forgive you for. Not that you survived, but that you turned every wall into a throne and every ounce of pressure into undeniable proof that you were never meant to stay small. Number 6. Thrones of illusion collapsing under the quiet weight of truth. Lies can sparkle for a season, but truth waits patiently, and when it arrives, even the tallest thrones sink like sandcastles in the tide. My dear chosen ones, let's talk about the ones who came after you. They built their power not on strength, not on integrity, but on illusions. They wore masks polished so well, even they started to believe them. They paraded around with borrowed crowns, thrones stitched together with manipulation, gossip, and false stories about you. They thought if they dragged your name low enough, they could climb higher. But here's the hard reality they never accounted for. Thrones built on lies don't last. They crumble. Not with explosions, but with silence, with the quiet pressure of truth that refuses to bend. And you, chosen one, are that truth. You don't need to scream. You don't need to defend yourself with the same weapons they used on you. Your very existence is evidence. Your presence is the collapse. Every time you stand tall without reacting, without chasing, without proving, the weight of your truth makes their throne shake. And the harder they cling to their illusion, the faster it rots beneath them. Ask yourself this: why do they obsess over your name, your movements, your silence? Because they know their power was never real. It only worked if you stayed small, if you stayed quiet, if you believed the lies they whispered. But you didn't. You rose anyway, and now their empire of gossip is sinking in front of them. The collapse doesn't come loudly. It doesn't need to. It's in the way their stories don't line up anymore. It's in the hesitation in their voices. It's in the forced smiles that can't hide the cracks. Truth doesn't need to fight. It just exposes. And when it exposes, the whole performance starts to unravel, thread by thread. So, my dear chosen ones, don't waste your breath swinging at shadows. Don't waste your time trying to prove what's already obvious. Their downfall is already in motion. Their false thrones are folding under the weight of reality, and you don't need to lift a finger. Just keep walking in clarity, keep breathing in alignment, keep standing in who you are. That alone is enough to dismantle everything fake. Remember this: they tried to bury you with lies, but it's those very lies that are now burying them. Let them panic, let them scramble, let them claw at the cracks in their foundation, because the thrones they built on illusion were never built to last, and you, chosen one, were never built to fall. Number 7. You rose unarmed, yet their empire still fell to pieces. They called you powerless, but it was their own power that crumbled in your silence. My dear chosen ones, look at how poetic this is. The very people who came after you with claws, schemes, and carefully plotted sabotage have ended up choking on the same lies they used to smear you. And you? You didn't even lift a sword. You didn't need to. Your existence, your endurance, your refusal to collapse, that was enough to send cracks racing through their empire until it shattered under its own weight. That is the gift of being chosen. Your rise does not depend on their permission, and their downfall does not require your revenge. Think about it. They armed themselves with gossip, screenshots, twisted stories, character assassinations. They thought they had the perfect weapons to erase you. But tell me, chosen one, what happened when they swung those weapons? They cut themselves. Their poison only circled back to poison them. Their empire wasn't destroyed by your hands. It was destroyed by its own corruption. And you kept moving, silent, steady, undeniable. I know the question you've asked yourself. Should I have fought back? Should I have screamed louder, exposed them, defended my name, number? Understand this. The strongest warrior in any battlefield is the one who doesn't waste energy proving what the truth will reveal on its own. You didn't fight their war because you didn't need to. The truth fought for you, and that's exactly what terrifies them. They thought silence meant weakness, but silence was your shield. They thought your calm meant defeat, but calm was your weapon. And while they scrambled, panicked, and exhausted themselves trying to keep their empire intact, you stood tall and let time reveal what dirt could never hide. That is why, chosen ones, you are dangerous. Not because you swing wildly, but because you outlast everything built on lies. And look at them now. The same ones who once laughed at you, who once spread rumors with confidence, now can't hold your gaze. Their voices tremble, their stories contradict, their foundation is rubble. They thought you needed to fight, but your greatest strike was survival. Your rise, unarmed, was the death blow they never saw coming. So let them watch, let them scatter, let them try to rebuild what's already collapsed. Their empire fell not because you attacked, but because you endured. And that's the power of being chosen. You win by existing. And so, my dear chosen ones, remember this. What they did to you was disgusting, yes, but their attacks only revealed their weakness and confirmed your strength. You rose without revenge, and still their empire collapsed. That is the mark of the chosen. Victory without begging, power without pretending. Now, if this message hit your soul, smash that like button, hit subscribe, and drop the number 77 in the comments to declare your rise. Share this with someone who needs reminding. The innocent may be attacked, but the chosen always rise.